What's up? This is Ian from PSYCLOPS. We're going over our in-ear monitor rig and kind of how we get our music from backing tracks or from our pedal boards to your ears when you're listening to us. There may not be a whole lot of stuff that looks different about our rack from the front, but I can show you when we get a little bit more into it that there's definitely some things that are kind of, I wouldn't say unique, but interesting. I don't really see a lot of people doing what we're doing here. So this is our third iteration of our in-ear monitor rig, so we call it Bandbox 3.0. So if you hear me refer to it as 3.0 or whatever, that's kind of what I'm getting at. We switched from a PreSonus 32R mixer to a Behringer Wing. This was kind of the big thing that caused this whole upgrade for us. We got to a point after we recorded the album where we figured out that we really did need more inputs and outputs to perform everything that we're doing in a live context without really any compromises. So this mixer gives us an absurd amount of inputs, more outputs than we can ever need. It makes it really easy for us to integrate into a front of house system. We'll get a little bit more into some of the features of the mixer when we get around to the back side of the rig. Next up, we have a Radial power conditioner. It's kind of cool. You know, a lot of power conditioners sometimes will have pull-out lights, but this one I saw it has it's like an LED bar. And it comes out pretty far. Like, I don't know if you could put a cup of coffee on it or whatnot, but you can definitely bang your knee on it. You can change the color here, change the brightness or intensity. So I just leave it on red because I tend to leave this the power supply unit on a lot. Makes it easier just to kind of see it in the dark and whatnot. The mixer also has this really cool kind of front panel, so even if you're standing right in front of it, you can pull it out and still be able to interact with the touch screen, which, you know, on previous mixers I've used, if there is an interface, it's usually not very helpful. This one, it's really helpful. It actually can do a lot. Next up down the rack here, we've got our wireless combiner. So when you turn this on, it will actually power all 4 wireless units that we use. The antenna for it is back up here behind us. It fits on a mic stand. It's really portable and easy. When you wire them all up through an antenna combiner, it gives you the ability to power all 4 units from one single power cable, which saves a lot of plugs on a power supply unit or power conditioner. So definitely was a big upgrade. It also improves audio quality dramatically. Pretty consistently before we had that, one of the band members would always feel like they were having static or, you know, frequency issues. Made it kind of difficult to hear stuff. All of our belt packs for our wireless units go in here. We've got our wireless antenna back here. We should probably just take a quick break and say that this is Kevin. Kevin is also a very important feature of our in-ear monitor system. Kevin makes sure that we're all very well emotionally regulated during band practice. He's an Australian cattle dog, otherwise known as a red heeler. Kevin is a very important member of our family and our band. Well, now that we've met Kevin, we'll get back to the band box. We've got the antenna up here, so that actually fits right here in the drawer. We've got a little bit of foam to keep it all safe and secure while we're traveling. It's also a locked box because all those things are really easy to lose or you know, misplace. We don't want them going anywhere. Below that, we have a power amp that originally we were going to try to run guitar cabs and a bass cab from this, but it turns out it just didn't have quite enough power to really keep up with the drum set. So we switched it to just doing just guitars. So we have one guitar on one side, one guitar on the other. These are the outputs for this power amp right on the front here. So it's really easy to just plug in a couple speaker cables, run them right out to our cabs, and we can hear our modelers coming right out our cabs. The way we get the sound from our modelers into the mixer is through these Ethernet cables here. We'll go over kind of how those are all wired up on the inside of the pedal board in a little bit, but each Ethernet cable carries 4 channels of audio. Think of it like each one is a 4-cable snake on its own. Each of these cables delivers a speaker emulated sound, or like an IR sound from our modelers, so you can hear it like it's coming out of a guitar cab, and then one without a guitar IR implied to that signal, so that way we can run the power amp through cabs and it doesn't sound weird. So it's kind of really convenient having both of those signals being all put to the same place. If we ever played like a giant venue and we needed to power a bunch of cabs, for example, we could run that signal really easily to front of house, and they could run it out to whatever cab system they have employed in that place. And then at the very bottom, we have the Midas 16 out. So this is all run off of a single XLR cable from the wing. It's another magic thing that the wing can do. So this gives us 16 channels of XLR output where we can pass through the inputs. So rather than using a splitter like I see a lot of people use in their in-ear racks, we're able to just pass through the same audio that we're hearing at whatever level that it's coming from our modeler is coming out of these just straight away. So makes it so front of house can do their own gain staging, they can have their own levels, they can do whatever they want with it, and it doesn't affect how we hear anything. Because having consistent sound in your own in-ears is what's going to help you perform the best every single night. And then one other thing we can take a look at before we walk around to the back side of the band box here is this little panel at the top lifts up so we can access things underneath. Right now you can kind of see back under there we've got our router that we use to wirelessly control the band box whenever we're setting, changing levels or doing remote control of Logic. So here we are at the back of the band box. You can kind of see we've got the outputs from the wing are gone through a couple of XLR snakes here. These are 4 channels all going down to the IEMs that are further down in the deck here. These are all the inputs that are coming from our pedal board snakes. We'll go over that a little bit more in a minute where you can kind of see how they're all fanned out. But the cab outs from our modelers come here. Our talkback mics or singing microphones also get routed up here. We also have things routed out for lead vocals and keyboards. So if we have anyone doing those things, we can plug them in, get them going, already pre-wired. The kind of thing that's a little bit unique about this is rather than using full-powered networking equipment, all of our networking equipment is done with USB-C as far as the power goes. So I've got a USB-C power brick here that supplies a lot of power to each port, which gives us the option that we've got a couple of chargers here if we need to charge iPads or wireless units or phones or cameras, whatever we need to. We've got a couple of really high-powered fast chargers here. We also have a USB hub back here that contains the mixer USB signal, USB for the MIDI box that's down here. Also have a few extra MIDI plugs. So like for example, we've got Geared's wireless unit charging on one of them just because it's a low power MIDI device or USB device. We've also got our patch panel here. You can punch out these. I punched these out just so if we wanted to run cables through, we could do that, or just a little bit better ventilation. These ones I've got mounted. This is the antenna output for our wireless combiner. This is mapped to the back of our USB hub, so when you plug in this cable, you're connected to all of the USB devices that are in this rack. This Ethernet cable is what I would call like the front of house network connection. So this gets routed up to our router, which then in turn gets routed down to our 2 Ubiquiti switches here. One switch is entirely dedicated to the wireless units, so we can do wireless spectrum profiling wherever we play. The one above it contains like the mixer, the main output from that bottom switch, and we also have 2 extra ports here that if we need to connect additional things. Sometimes in really bad wireless environments, you can actually connect like an iPad with a USB-C adapter and an Ethernet cable straight to this, and you'd be able to control it. So if we were in like a really crappy wireless area or there was a lot of interference and say like Alex still wanted to be able to control the band box, we could just run an Ethernet cable to him with an iPad and it would work completely wired. So having the option to have wireless when it works great and wired when it doesn't, that was really important to me. So this is our front of house Ethernet connection, so we can connect this to the venue and have internet access through here through our own router if we want to. I can also connect this to like a cellular hotspot or like a 5G modem or something like that. So it makes it so no matter where we are, not that this is obviously a great portable router, but it gives us our own network infrastructure wherever we go. If we need to share video files or work on something together, or if we have a crappy connection we're trying to share, it makes it easy to do that. The one thing you can't quite see, but you can see the attachment strap for it here. Behind this panel, all of our cable spaghetti is all neatly tied up and Velcroed and zip tied together. So all of the Ethernet to XLR snakes all terminate in a big coil that I have done up back here. And then up here we also have the MIDI device that we use. It's a 4 input, 4 output, 4 individual MIDI universes. So right now each of our modelers has their own MIDI channel entirely. So it makes it so there's no possibility of crosstalk or individual modelers' MIDI messages interacting with each other. Generally speaking, that doesn't happen, but this makes it so it literally can't happen. And it's not really any more expensive or larger than other devices. It's about the size of maybe a couple of decks of cards stacked side by side. So otherwise, on the back of the mixer here, kind of the other thing we have is these additional power supply ports here on our power conditioner that, these would be isolated outputs, so it keeps, hum and ground down. We also have a Dante card for our wing. So, aside from having all of the outputs we can pass straight through as analog signals, we also have a digital output for, if the venue has that option. We also have, some of our other digital options that we haven't used, like we still have multiple ports available on the back here for the AES-50. So, if the venue already has a Behringer product as their main mixer for the house or a Midas product, we can plug right in through that. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things we've got built in here. But one thing we've kind of mentioned a couple times is our pedal board system, how we get our pedal boards signal to and from the mixer here. So we can take a quick look over here. All right, so now we're back around to the front of the band box, and I'm going to talk about how our pedal boards connect to our band box and what makes it such a functional and flexible system. So normally if you're going to run a loom of wires from a pedal board to a in-ear monitor system or like some kind of a stage point, you're talking about having either one really long set of cables so you can cover every possible scenario that you might find yourself in, or you're going to have like maybe 3 or 4 different sets of cables, and that could mean you might have some that work or some that get damaged in shipping or whatever, and you may not know until you plug it in and find out, oh, I've actually got to use a different set, or my really long one doesn't work. And now you've got to find, in this case, like 4 really hard to find long cables, maybe an hour or 2 before your show. If you're playing in a place that doesn't have a Guitar Center nearby, or some kind of a music retailer, chances are you're not finding these cables. One thing that you're going to find probably everywhere is a shielded Ethernet cable. You can go into any Best Buy or a Costco even probably and find a shielded Ethernet cable. And these can be used to transmit 4 different channels of audio or really any electrical signal. So we use these Ethernet to XLR snakes inside of our pedal boards, so that when we want to plug in and play, you just have a single cable that you plug right into the side of the pedal board, and by connecting this one cable, we're sending a front of house friendly signal that has the IR or cabinet impulse response applied to that signal, so it sounds like it's coming out of cab. Sounds good. We hear that in our in-ear mix. We pass that forward to front of house. There's also a signal that comes out that has no IR applied, so if we wanted to run like a power amp on stage to run a bass cab in this case, or a guitar cab if it was a modeler, that signal can be used in that method. The third channel in the snake, remember we got 4 channels, the third channel we've actually used a pair of MIDI over Ethernet adapters on each end of the snake. So MIDI is supplied to the pedal board and is sent out of our MIDI unit that's in the back of the rig. And then the 4th channel is either an auxiliary channel, like if we're recording we can use it for a DI box, but if we're playing live or if we're doing a practice, we can plug a microphone in, and that's our talkback mic or our singing microphone. And that same microphone can be passed forward to front of house. We can hear it in our in-ears. If for whatever reason we don't want to have it passed forward to front of house, we don't have to. But it basically makes it so with one cable that's really easy to carry a bunch of different lengths, really easy to replace. It takes all the anxiety out of playing with a highly connected pedal board in basically any scenario. So kind of what that looks like on the underside here. You can see the Ethernet cable comes in from the side. I've got it on a panel mount shielded Ethernet jack here that runs into a very short shielded Ethernet cable that connects to the snake. So this is the main body of the snake here. From there, 4 XLR cables come out. We've got them all hardwired into their correct locations here. So the ones that go to the top of the board here are here. This is the 4th connection. You can see number 4 here. This would be the microphone or auxiliary plug. So when we're ready to play, you'd plug in your Ethernet cable, plug in your power cable, which will power everything on the board, and then plug the microphone on whatever mic stand you've got nearby, plug it right in front of you, and you're ready to rock. So makes it really easy. Makes it very flexible, keeps things really clean and organized, makes it so we don't have a giant, spaghetti of cables coming out of the front of our rack like we used to in our previous band boxes. But yeah, it's something I've started to see some bands and some touring groups start to do. And I thought, I hadn't really seen anybody apply it to a pedal board yet, and so I thought it'd be kind of a cool thing for us to do. But yeah, so these are some of the cool things that we do to make music as Cyclops. This is how we, connect all of our technology. We're not sponsored or anything. We're just a bunch of independent artists that, try gear that we like and see what works. But yeah, it's definitely something we're happy to share with you, and we can't wait for you to hear all the music that we recorded with it. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you soon.